What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and I'm here to let you know that Minari is no perfect movie, despite what people will tell you on the internet. So, Minari is about the Yi family living in 1980s Arkansas, where they attempt to start a farm full of vegetables that they can grow and sell to Korean grocery stores. But things become very tense within the family when certain members start to accuse one another of caring more about their pride as opposed to caring about each other. And the fact that critics and audiences had nothing but high praises to say about this movie when they saw it at film festivals, the fact that there was a 100% tomato meter for a good while led me to not watch a trailer, not look up any plot details, try to go into it as blindly as possible. There was still a potential to disappoint myself by letting such high momentum get to my head, but I will say this, even though I don't hold this movie in as high of a regard as some people might, which it happens, what are you going to do? For the majority of the runtime, I was smiling alongside the characters and feeling the inner turmoil that they were going through. So much of the movie's praise has gone to the lead two performances from Steven Yeun and Monica Ree. Not sure if I said that right because pronunciation websites are just pure shit to begin with, but yeah, they definitely carry a good majority of the film. Much like Jude Law and Carrie Coon in The Nest, it's a relationship that's really put to the test when the husband puts the entire family in a tough financial situation completely out of pride. But the main difference in this film is that the dad, Jacob, has a business plan that actually makes sense. You can imagine someone succeeding with this. And when we learn what he used to do for a living when the family was located in California, even though he was by all accounts a good provider, it was a job that he felt had no dignity towards it and that he feels he needs to be on top for once, not just to put the family in a good financial position, but just so his family can be proud of him for something huge. And those feelings make his actions feel a lot more understandable, even though he hides a lot of secrets from his family and is in denial of the possibility that this plan could fail at any given moment. And with Rii's performance, her withdrawn facial expressions and stilted body posture portray so many emotions such as betrayal, disappointment, uncertainty, and worry in ways that dialogue absolutely never could. She is ashamed of her husband for the situation that he has put them in without them even asking for it, but she does silently acknowledge that they have very few options in order to make a new life for themselves. And for now, this is the only way to go, especially during the finale where she actually helps him out with the very thing she held a grudge against them for. But for me, what was actually the biggest surprise of the movie was the relationship between the son and the grandmother who moves from Korea to Arkansas to watch over the kids. Alan Kim, at a very young age, was really good as David, the only member of the family who was actually born and raised in Korea. And based on the things that he has learned about grandmothers in pop culture and for some of the stuff his friends his age have told him, he's openly very critical about Korean culture and customs in a way that's uncomfortable but also kind of makes sense given his circumstances. You understand why he's so openly rude towards his grandma based on how young of an age he's at, but it never really stops me from saying, "You little bastard," when he doesn't says some really nasty shit to his grandma. And when she goes, "You little bastard," after one moment in particular, I took that as a good sign that I was supposed to hate this kid on occasion. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly which part I'm talking about. But what makes the grandma, in my opinion, the best character and gives the best performance is that she's so patient and honest about everything. Even when her grandkids tell her not to openly curse in front of everyone, she continues to do so, but in a very polite and understanding way that doesn't encourage the other kids to do so because they already know that swear words are bad, which, I mean, good for them. That one scene I was talking about where the grandson wronged her, in a family where they believe in hitting disobedient children, she finds it openly horrible and is willing to forgive and forget in order to find common ground. And the best part is, she actually kind of does find common ground because the grandson has a specific illness where he can't do certain physical traits. But the good news is, the grandma is so encouraging towards him by pointing out the things that he can do as opposed to the things that he can't. And that was what made the relationship just so genuine whenever they patched things up or broke things apart. Because, like most relationships with a kid about 5 or 6, I had to guess, is that the his viewpoints towards other family members tend to really come and go after a while, and it felt realistic, and it still felt very entertaining. And Lee Isaac Chung's direction did a great job at portraying so many wide shots of the lush and green Arkansas landscape. Usually, whenever the Deep South is portrayed in film, it's always very murky and brown, kind of like True Blood or True Detective. But I'm glad that other movies that take place in the South, like this and Uncle Frank, can show the beauty of the Southern United States. There were so many scenes in particular that reminded me of Yasujiro Ozu movies, where an entire scene will have every actor relevant to the conflict in the frame at all times. That way we can get the actions and reactions of a conversation within the same frame without ever having to rely on standard coverage. If anything, the most they ever do with the frame is adjust the focus whenever a character has a silent reaction. There are so many scenes that take place within one huge wide shot that not only makes it look like a portrait, and a very beautiful one that you would like to hang on your wall, but it also emphasizes the sense of isolation that these characters are going through as they're starting to make a new life for themselves, feeling isolated towards certain family members because there is a lack of trust between them. So, with all those things going for the movie, and someone's going to kill me if I don't bring up the music, because the musical score is absolutely beautiful. Emil Mossari's very minimalist piano orchestrations feel beautifully bittersweet, and you can tell that there's a lot of emotion added to scenes that have music, because there are so many great scenes that don't even rely on music. Just a lot of awkward silence between characters as they're trying to justify their causes for trying to make a new life for themselves and making mistakes along the way. So, with all the great things that this movie has going for it, why don't I hold it in as high of a regard? I'm really stuttering with these last few videos. Why don't I like it as much as most people do? And I think it's because the movie tries to present itself as an ensemble cast, but I never really felt that. For the first 20 minutes, it did seem as if every member of the family we got to experience this new life from each of their perspectives, and it was heartwarming. I was smiling the entire time. But then they start adding in characters like the grandma coming from Korea to Arkansas, or this one Korean war vet with PTSD who kind of helps out with the farm every now and then. And after a while, I started to forget that certain characters were even in the movie, and it felt like I had to play catch up, even though I already knew what their arcs were. With the Korean war vet with PTSD, I get why he was in the movie, the way his symptoms are often ridiculed or brushed over because, well, it's not our problem. He's just a kook. What are you going to do? Like, I get the mentality, and I get that that was the point to show it, but it takes up a lot of screen time that I felt could have given to other characters, like the daughter. The daughter has no arc whatsoever. I can't even remember what her name was, which is weird because she has to make a lot of sacrifices. There's one point where she has to look after her grandmother and her brother at the exact same time, and it's just like, that's an entire subplot that is gift wrapped. There are moments where she has to act like the parental figure to the brother before the grandma even comes. There were so many missed opportunities, and I really feel bad for the actress because it seemed like she was doing a really good job. Hell, there were moments where I forgot that the wife was even in the movie, because as soon as the grandma shows up, it becomes a lot more about the grandma and the grandson. We don't really get that much dynamic between the grandma and her daughter or her son-in-law, which again, you can get some very natural comedy and drama from conflict and resolution, and just, there were so many missed opportunities that I think Chung should have taken advantage of. But at the same time, Minari is just as well acted, well scored, and well directed as everybody made it out to be. And for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Minari a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely check it out if you haven't already, assuming you can at this point. I got it through like a limited time offer from TIFF, which I couldn't access until 6 at night and had till 6 a.m. to watch. That made no sense to me, but before my mouth gets dry and lose my voice, guys, thanks as always for watching. If you have seen Minari, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Be sure to stay tuned for more reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.